Hello everyone, and welcome back to an episode of Chit Chat with Cass. It feels like it's been forever since I put out a podcast episode, and when I looked back, that's because it's been about 2 months. So if you follow my main channel, you know that I was doing all of the roleplay month prep and then roleplay month itself. My life in general has been freaking crazy. So I am finally getting around to posting another podcast episode, and I'm hopefully going to be more consistent now that roleplay month is over and I can focus on this channel as well as my main channel. So as I'm recording this, it is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. So of course, I thought it was necessary to do a Star Wars themed episode, right? But I wasn't entirely sure what I should talk about. So I decided that I would look up some Star Wars tag questions and also answer some of your guys' questions that you sent in to me for this specific podcast. So this will be released on Revenge of the 5th. Or maybe you're listening to it on Revenge of the 6th. Some people like the 5th, some people like the 6th, whatever. I'm recording it on the 4th. Happy Star Wars weekend! So these are just some popular Star Wars tag questions that I found online. And as I said, some of them you guys actually sent in for me to answer or discuss. Some of them are just my personal opinion. And some of them, I guess, maybe are just explaining part of the Star Wars universe. But then most of them are just my interpretation of some of the answers. Alrighty. So, first question. Top 3 characters and why? Well, number 1 is going to be Princess Leia. Leia has been my favorite since childhood. She's always been my favorite, and she was pretty much the introduction to badass female characters for me, so a lot of my favorite characters are compared to Leia. And even in the new movies, Leia is still my favorite. So she is definitely the number 1 spot. Most people know that about me. And then, let's see, second one, I'll say Han Solo. I like his character for kind of a different reason. I've always loved Leia, but then Han Solo's character has quite the character progression from, New Hope to Return of the Jedi. The character changes quite a bit, and I really enjoy that character progression and just him as a whole. So I figured he should be on this list. And then I was trying to debate who should be the third one because there's a lot of good characters within Star Wars. And there's so many different source materials for Star Wars. It's kind of hard to pinpoint, but I went ahead and went with Obi-Wan. Because in the originals, Alec Guinness is really great, and then I find that Obi-Wan is one of the best parts of the prequels with Ewan McGregor. So, when you kind of do Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness both portraying Obi-Wan at different points in his life, I think that Obi-Wan is definitely one of my favorite characters. And then I'll go ahead and say that Rey is an honorable mention, because I do really enjoy Rey as well. Favorite droid and why? I'm gonna go with R2, because he's a hero. And he's been a hero for, generations of Skywalker clan, right? He has saved, so many people. He's, really quite helpful. He's not just, a sidekick that doesn't do anything. R2 helps all the time. And he's always been my favorite droid. Probably always will be. There's nothing, BB-8's cute and everything, but R2 is always going to be number 1. And he's not, a cock block like C-3PO, so R2's the dude. Prequels or originals? Originals, of course. I do not hate the prequels as much as some people. I actually grew up with a lot of, the prequels being released, right? But the originals are what started it all. That is what I was introduced to, that got me interested to Star Wars, and they're always going to be, my favorites because it started it all and just because of what it was. So most definitely the originals. Favorite book, comic, or TV show other than the movies? I really got into Star Wars Rebels. I know that a lot of people like the Clone Wars cartoon. I have not watched all of it. I've only watched bits and pieces. It's on my binge list like a million other things, but I really did get into the Star Wars Rebels show, and I thought that the tie-ins to the other movies, especially the final episode of that show, was fantastic, and I was really into it. What is one Star Wars theory that is so crazy because it makes no sense? Yeah, I got this one, okay? The craziest Star Wars theory to me was when we were all trying to figure out who Rey is. And, sometimes we still are trying to figure out who Rey is. And there were so many theories that she must be like Han and Leia's daughter. And I wanted her to be their daughter so bad. Like when Force Awakens trailers came out, I wanted that. I wanted her to be Jaina Solo. But she's not. And so the theory that she's Leia's daughter, but Leia doesn't remember having her. You know, I'm pretty sure most women remember pregnancy and labor and giving birth. You know, I don't think that really makes much sense that she's Leia's daughter, but Leia doesn't remember her. That's like the craziest theory to me. Top 3 Star Wars ships for relationships, romance. You know, like, you ship it. Top is Han and Leia, of course. And then I'm gonna go with Hera and Kanan. So that's a Rebels reference, Star Wars Rebels. I loved them in that show. I also really ship Rey and Finn. That's like my new ship, if you will. But as for bromance ship, I totally love Finn and Poe together. They're great too. Favorite color lightsaber. I like the blue ones. Blue is my favorite color, but I just like the blue ones. Who shot first? Han. Han shot first. I don't care what edit you're watching, what special edition you're watching, Han shot first. And that goes back to that character development that I was talking about. He is such a different guy when you first meet him in Mos Eisley, compared to like the end of Return of the Jedi where he's like willing to like let Leia go be happy with her brother. But he's just like such a different guy. And most definitely he would have shot first, and he did shoot first. You guys, come on. I don't care what edit. I don't know why they felt the need to re-edit that scene. I think it's ridiculous. I think most Star Wars fans agree that Han shot first. I've never spoken to a hardcore Star Wars fan that did not believe Han shot first. Favorite movie has always been Return of the Jedi. Since I was a kid, when my dad first introduced these movies to me, I've always loved Return of the Jedi. I don't know what drew me to it. It's always been my favorite, like through growing up, through my teens, as an adult now. I still love Return of the Jedi. I know a lot of people's favorite is Empire, and Empire is great. It's super close to Return of the Jedi, but there's just some parts in Return of the Jedi that make it my favorite, and I doubt anything will ever top it. Let's have some tea. I'm battling my allergies like no other right now. Let's see. Coolest planet. Well, technically the coolest planet would be Hoth, right? Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Okay. My favorite planets. I love Naboo. I always say I would love to live in the Naboo Lake Country, which is technically Italy, so I could just move to Italy. But I would love Naboo, and I also love the forest moon of Endor. Jedi or Sith? I'm gonna say neither. Because, a couple reasons. The Jedi are way too stupid with their rules, way too strict, they don't understand, it's just, no. And the Sith are a bit too evil for me, so I'm gonna say neither, or perhaps somewhere in the middle. Maybe we'll get something similar to that in this final installment that is coming in December, with whatever Rey is doing, time will tell. I've seen some really interesting fan theories about this conclusion movie, that Rise of Skywalker isn't like necessarily like a member of the Skywalker family, but instead it is like that's going to be like the new order, like the Skywalker order, you know? And then if you look at the third movies of everything, you have Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. So that could be really interesting if the Skywalker is going to be like the new order that maybe Rey creates or something. But perhaps it will be somewhere in between the Sith and the Jedi, because both of them have so many flaws. Favorite score or theme? Oh my god, I could talk about John Williams' music like a whole podcast episode, because he's my favorite composer. I love so many of his songs, not just from Star Wars, like from a million different things, right? You got like Harry Potter, Jaws, Superman, like Jurassic Park. You have so many different amazing scores from that man, but Star Wars themes are some of my favorites. The Force theme is probably on the top of the list. It's just a beautiful song. It gives me goosebumps every time I hear it, so that one is definitely on the top. But Duel of Fates is a really good one for like battle upbeatness. Like that's a pretty good one as well. I also fell in love with the song Padme's Ruminations. It's from Revenge of the Sith. I don't know why. The moment in the scene in that movie is really emotional, and it's one of my favorites. So maybe that's why I kind of gravitate towards that specific score as well. But like I said, I love so many different themes from Star Wars, from all of John Williams' music. So those are just 3 to mention. Let's see, best battle sequence. Then there's like a second bit to this. Let's see. I guess because I love Return of the Jedi so much, I kind of like the Endor battle bit because you kind of have the different parts, right? You have like them on Endor, like the ground crew. Then you have the ships flying around the second Death Star, and then you have like kind of like some lightsaber stuff thrown in and other stuff thrown in with the Emperor and Luke and Vader. So I kind of like that whole end battle bit. And then to lead into favorite lightsaber battle sequence. So choreography-wise, I would have to say like the Duel of Fates bit in Phantom Menace where you have Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. That is some great choreography. It's a great battle. It's lightsaber battle. It's really good. Visually, the fight between Kylo and Rey on Starkiller Base is so beautiful and visually pleasing to me. I love it so much, like in the snow with like the red saber and the blue saber going against each other and kind of sparking the snow and all these different things. It's very beautiful. It's not like the most in-depth or intense choreography because Rey is still trying to learn how to use a lightsaber. She's been using a bow staff. And Kylo Ren is obviously very controlled by his emotion, so he's not as particular as some of the other lightsaber battles we've seen. But it's just visually very beautiful. And then I also really did like the Red Room fight in The Last Jedi, also with Kylo and Rey. I thought that was a really great fight. There was a lot of moments in that I really enjoyed. And there's like, of course, other ones. If you want to get like really fast and emotional lightsaber battle, the end of Revenge of the Sith with Anakin and Obi-Wan is super intense. Let's see. Those are like probably some of the favorites that come to my mind. Favorite flying ship? That would be the Falcon, of course. Best line of dialogue. Okay, I had to list a couple of these because come on, guys, right? There's so many good lines from Star Wars. So I got one from Han. I don't know, fly casual. I love that. It's from Return of the Jedi. Then we got a Leia one from New Hope. I don't know who you are or where you've come from, but from now on, you'll do as I say, okay? I love that line so much. We have a Padme line that is really one of my favorites as well. So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. And I even included one from Rogue One from Chit, because it's hilarious. And it's, are you kidding me? I'm blind. So there you go. There's about a billion other Star Wars quotes, lines, dialogue that I could include in this, but those are top 4 that came to mind. Do you own any video games? If so, which one is your favorite? So I've had a couple of different Star Wars video games over the years. The only ones that I've really played, like really put some time into, would be the Revenge of the Sith game. I played that a lot. I completed all the levels. I was super into that game. And then, of course, the Shadows of the Empire, which was on the Nintendo 64. I used to play that all the time as well. Those are definitely my 2 favorite Star Wars games. Favorite scene. Once again, I added a couple because there's just like so many great moments. Okay, I love this entire saga. I can't just pinpoint one, but in Return of the Jedi, it being my favorite, the moment when Luke is hiding under the stairs, like from Vader, and Vader is like trying to get him to come out and everything, and Luke allows his emotional guard down, and that's when Vader finds out that he has a sister. And so Vader threatens Luke's sister, and Luke goes fucking crazy. I love this scene so much. I love the hiding bit. I love when he freaks out. He scares the hell out of Vader when he pops up with his lightsaber going. Then he's just like hacking at Vader and everything. And then it goes to the moment when he realizes that he's going towards the dark side and that he's going towards Vader's life, and he stops himself. I love that whole bit. It is probably my favorite scene in any of the movies. But I also love scenes like, once again, Return of the Jedi. I love the end celebration. On Endor, or if you want to like talk about the different planets, except for Tatooine, because Tatooine wouldn't give a fuck if the Empire was destroyed. They wouldn't, okay? They're not part of it. One of those special edition add-ons that doesn't make any sense. Let's see. I also really love like the scene of Han going back for Leia on Hoth. Of course, I'm a Han and Leia fan, so I love their cute little moments, but it's super comical, him going to the control center and then getting her, and then both of them running to get to the Falcon to get off the planet. I love all of that bit, and even going into them flying off of Hoth and like Luke outside getting to see the Falcon fly away and knowing that his friends are safe. I love that bit a lot. And then another scene that I really enjoy is when Luke calls to Leia on Cloud City. I really like that scene. And it's like, once again, some of those scenes, they just got so lucky with, like, the suggestion that Leia was Force sensitive, even though not knowing what they were going to do in Return of the Jedi. I mean, obviously, they also had them kiss, so that fucked up a little bit, George Lucas. But there were definitely multiple different things and scenes that hinted that Leia was Force sensitive and had some Force ability. And this is one of my favorite ones between her and Luke when she senses where he is dangling under Cloud City. Oh, speaking of Cloud City, which outfit do you wish you had in your closet? That's going to be Leia's red Cloud City look. I love it so much. I've tried to recreate it like in like modern look things, and I need to try a little harder because I love that. All right, character you would want to marry. Let's just take the main trio, why don't we? Han, Luke, or Leia. There you go. Take your pick. Character you'd want to be your sidekick. I did mention R2, R2 would be a pretty great sidekick, very helpful, hero and all that jazz. But, you also have like Chewie. Chewie would be a fantastic one as well. And let me just take a moment to say, rest in peace, Peter Mayhew. So sad. And all of these cartoons that people have been drawing with like Chewbacca going to meet Leia and R2 like in heaven, or all these different little things have been so sweet but heartbreaking at the same time. My thoughts go out to his family. He just seemed like such a fantastic guy. Like, I've been reading some of like the fan reactions to when they met Peter Mayhew at like conventions and stuff, and everyone just said he was so kind and just like very sweet. So lost a member of the Star Wars family, so rest in peace, Peter Mayhew. Then we go on to Padme or Leia. That's Leia. Like I said, when the prequels were coming out, I was like growing up and I was already into Star Wars, so I did enjoy Padme. I am a Padme fan. However, when you look at what they did to her character in Revenge of the Sith, they really kind of screwed up her character. She was very strong in the first two movies, and the scenes where she was strong in Revenge of the Sith, like creating the rebellion, like with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, they deleted those scenes. So she just looks like not herself, and like, I hate that people try to like blame it on like, oh, she's pregnant, so she's not going to be a strong person anymore. And I just think that's kind of bullshit. They kind of really ruined her character in Revenge of the Sith, and so I have to go with Leia. In any of the movies that Leia has been in, she has been my favorite. Favorite technology from Star Wars. Lightsabers are pretty cool. The medical stuff is also pretty nice. Can always use some advanced medical stuff. I've always really liked the little breather things that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan put on in Phantom Menace to breathe underwater, like when they're going down to Gungan City. I've always wanted one of those. Favorite villain? That's going to be Darth Vader. A character you would have liked to have seen in the sequel series. That is most definitely Jaina Solo. Because I was into Star Wars at a young age, like I kind of went and read some of the books and got some of the information about, Han and Leia's kids and what happened after Return of the Jedi, and you had Jason and Jaina Solo and Anakin Solo, and I really gravitated towards that and kind of grew up with that idea. So when they announced Force Awakens, I was really, really wanting Jaina Solo. I was wanting to see her. And even as they introduced Ben Solo instead of Ben Skywalker, like Kylo Ren, I wanted him to have a sister somewhere. Even if it didn't end up being Rey, I just wanted there to be a good bit of the family left. We're just you have all of this stuff happen in the originals, and then for what? For the one grandkid to turn out evil? And who knows, he might get redemption. I don't even know if I want him to have redemption, but it's I'm just used to some of the legend stories where you had Ben Skywalker, you had Jason and Jaina and Anakin Solo, and some of those things. So I was very disappointed that we didn't get to see like a Jaina Solo type character. That's what I was really looking forward to. So I would have loved to have seen a character like that. Lightsaber or blaster? Okay, well, if they give me a lightsaber that's like a bow staff version, I'm totally down for that. If not, then probably a blaster. What do you think of George Lucas? Now, guys, he created all of this, so you have to appreciate him. And you kind of even have to look past the mistakes that were made for the prequels with too much green screen and stuff like that, because he created all of this. So you gotta give him props. Alright, and then I am moving on to the questions that you guys sent in, okay? So I got, how did you like The Last Jedi? It had flaws, but I don't get why so many fans bash on it so hard. I enjoy Last Jedi. Is it my favorite movie? No. But as per usual, I was not as harsh with it as some fans were. Sometimes fan bases, especially the Star Wars fan base, can be very toxic. And there have been a lot of hate for this movie, and I understand some of it, and some of it is just like, calm down, guys. But I enjoy the movie. I definitely like Force Awakens more for the sequel series as far as that goes. But yeah, there were issues with it. There were some things that I wish they would have done. I don't like most of the Canto Bight stuff. I'm not a fan of that stuff. And that story arc, it was just a big waste of time and stuff like that, but there were parts to it that I did really enjoy. I know that some people really hate like when Leia gets blown outside, when the ship gets blown up and she like uses the Force to like fly back in, and everyone thought that was stupid. I thought it was great. I've been waiting forever to watch Leia use the Force in that side of way, because pretty sure we're not going to get to see her with a lightsaber. That's probably not going to happen with the lack of footage of Carrie. But I love that part, and people picked that part so bad. A lot of people don't like what happened to Luke. And while I totally understand that, it's like kind of unfortunate, I do see bits and pieces of it, okay? I don't agree with like Luke, like even thinking or the potential of him trying to kill or go after Ben. I think that's stupid. He was so for Vader's redemption. I don't believe that character would have gone after his nephew like that. He would have been there to try and help. He wouldn't have gone after him. So I don't like that bit. But feeling like he failed and like going away to the island, that's like just a Jedi trait, okay? So that makes sense to me. And then the end bit on Crate, I do love a lot of that. The scene with like Luke and Leia is heartbreaking after losing Carrie Fisher, and then like the little bit of a battle between Luke and Kylo Ren, and then in turn like Luke becomes one with the Force, if you will. And a lot of people didn't like that he had died, but I thought that it was a really great way for him to go out. He saved what was left of the rebellion, and him doing like his Force projection thing. So basically what I'm trying to say is there were definitely parts of Last Jedi that I don't like, and that honestly, I'll probably fast forward through maybe if I'm sitting there watching it. Like the Canto Bight stuff, I can't. It's whatever. But there were parts that I did really enjoy, and I don't think it deserves as much hate as it got. There are some things that I wonder if they're going to do like a course correction with some of the storyline. Maybe like with Rey's history, her parents. The whole Snoke thing, while I love like the Red Room battle thing, we didn't even get to understand who he was and that he's dead. Just some things like that. So I can understand fans not liking it, not being a favorite, but there are parts that I do appreciate of it. So I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. Then we have like kind of some opinion questions that I'm going to try and answer. Let's see. Why doesn't Vader sense anything about Leia? So this is just my opinion because I don't know if there's a straightforward answer. This is some of the stuff that they didn't know that they were doing. Like, you know, when they started it, they didn't know that Leia was going to be Vader's daughter, that she was Luke's sister, that she was Force sensitive. So some of these scenes, like I said, are very lucky that it seems as if Leia is Force sensitive. A lot of people say that her being Force sensitive is how she was able to like withhold all of the questioning on the Death Star, even like with like, you know, torture and all that stuff. She was still able to resist against Vader and the Empire. The calling out to Luke, those different things like that were very lucky. So, like, fan theories around, or ideas, my ideas around why Vader didn't sense anything about Leia is a lot of people, myself included, kind of think that Leia is more of a natural talent when it comes to the Force. She may even be stronger in the Force than Luke. Like, obviously, he is much more into it, but when you're talking about just, like, basic instinct, it may just, like, come to her more. So, in turn, she could be stronger than Vader in a sense, because he lost quite a bit of his Force ability when he got hacked to bits on Mustafar. So that's kind of what I go towards. Like, she was able to almost have like a shield around her mind, if you will, especially when she's trying to hide like where the rebel base is, all these different things. Anytime Vader was around her, I feel like she would have had that mental Force shield around herself, maybe not even realizing it. Obviously, she didn't know that she comes from like Jedi family, right? So it's just like some natural part of her had that shield around her, and that's why Vader wasn't able to sense anything. That's just how I believe. Let's see. Next we have, where did the Ewoks get Leia's dress? Okay, so there's two theories that I've seen pop around, right? Some people say that they made it for her, which I kind of maybe thought that when I was a kid. I was like, oh, they made her a dress, right? But today, like, others say there are some other, like sources that suggest that other humans had crashed on Endor, whatever, and that, Ewoks probably eat humans. They did have the group in a trap there for a bit. And so there's the potential that they used to eat humans, and maybe, they stole some lady's dress before they ate her. Then we have, why do some Jedi disappear when they die? What I mean is, the likes of Obi-Wan and Yoda physically disappeared and become Force ghost, but in the prequels, none of the Jedi disappear, particularly Qui-Gon Jinn. Okay, so this is definitely, there's a lot of fan theories, you could dive deep into it. This is kind of my thoughts on the stuff that I've read, listened to, watched, and everything of how that worked. So, my opinion, if you will. I am not George Lucas, I am not Disney, this is not the final say, but this is like my thoughts on it, okay? So, different Jedi are going to have different training, of course, different abilities, and they've trained in different aspects of the Force. So, for example, like Qui-Gon Jinn in Phantom Menace, he dies, and his body does not disappear. But he still has some knowledge, and you could say he becomes a Force ghost and is able to communicate with Obi-Wan at different points. We see that later on, okay? So, he did have that knowledge, even though his body did not disappear when he died. So from there, it's kind of suggested, like, I take it that Qui-Gon Jinn could perhaps continue to teach through the Force others like Obi-Wan and Yoda to learn more about how to become one with the Force when they die and, aka disappearing, and in turn, like, become a Force ghost. So there is that idea that Qui-Gon from the Force afterlife could be like a mentor to Obi-Wan and Yoda and teach them how to do this, and in turn, Luke eventually. It is suggested on a lot of fan theories that it would take a lot of power to do something like this as well, a lot of training. So when Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Luke die, they merge into the Force after practicing this, learning how to do it, and having that skill. And so not all the Jedi would have that training or that knowledge or even that ability. So that would explain why not every Jedi disappears when they die. Like if you see a battle or something like that, like you mentioned in some of the prequels, not all of them disappear. Not all of them would have that knowledge, is kind of what I believe. Some people, of course, would then question Anakin, because he did not disappear at the end of Return of the Jedi. His body was burned just like Qui-Gon's. So that also kind of goes into some more fan theories that I've heard. Sorry, I don't think that there's like an exact answer for this, but this is just kind of like how my brain understands it. There is the potential that, like, as they burn the body or destroy the living body, a Jedi or Force user could become one with the Force. And if they have that ability or the strength within the Force, they could return as a Force ghost. if that makes sense, Qui-Gon had already like had some of the knowledge and everything like that. So when he dies and they burn his body, he then becomes one with the Force. Then from like the afterlife or whatever you want to say, he communicates with, we know he communicates with Yoda, with Obi-Wan, and so on, could teach them how to do this. So then when it comes for their time, they simply die and immediately become one with the Force because they've had years of training. They lived longer than Qui-Gon did, and they have the years of training. And then you go to Vader and or Anakin once he goes back to, Return of the Jedi. He did not disappear, so once again it would go back to when Luke burns the body in the suit. That would take forever to burn. The burning of that body could potentially, release him into the Force, if you will. If he, once again, had the knowledge, the training, and then the ability to become a Force ghost. Some people question that, but that's just kind of how I've understood some things. And people in the comments, I would love to hear your theories if you think I'm correct. If you've heard something else, maybe you know more about it. But that's just kind of how I've understood why not all Jedi can disappear. They don't all have the training or the strength to become a Force ghost or to disappear and then become a Force ghost, if you will. But that's just how I've thought it. I hope that kind of answers your question, in my opinion only. Okay, then we have, do you think Palpatine knew about Luke and Leia? I do not think he did. Because I think if he did, he would have immediately got them. Because, he finally gets, like, his apprentice. Darth Vader's his apprentice. And then he gets hacked to shit and has to be put in a big ol' mask and suit. And he lost some of, like, his abilities with that. Sure, he's still great. But I feel like if the Emperor would have known about Luke and Leia, he would have gotten them immediately and trained them from infants on up to be his apprentices, to be in the dark side, what to do with their abilities, all of that. I don't think that he knew about them. Like how he could have been more focused on Vader. I am kind of in the fan theory belief that perhaps the Emperor had something to do with pulling Padme's life force away, and that's why she died. Not just because she had a broken heart, that's bullshit. That he like kind of pulled that away from her, and that's what helped save Vader, but then killed her. So he could have been too focused on that and not focused on the kids. You also had, when Luke and Leia were born, you have Yoda and Obi-Wan there, if they could help shield them in some way. And then obviously keeping them apart would probably be helpful on the Force reading scale, if you will. But yeah, I don't believe that Palpatine knew about them. Especially like when, as they grow and everything, Palpatine would have seen Leia in the Senate. So. And then the final question we have is, what do I think about Palpatine's laugh being in the trailer? Go watch my reaction. I was shocked and I was like, what? Is that a Palpatine laugh? Is that an Emperor laugh? What's going on? I'm very curious on what we're doing with this last one. There's been like reports that it's really going to tie in the whole saga and have like tiebacks to other things. Kind of like what they did with Endgame. No spoilers, I promise. But like it did bring in like the MCU movies and there was tiebacks to everything and it was a great conclusion, if you will. And so I kind of hope they do that with Rise of Skywalker. It references the rest of the saga, the other movies, and so, you may have Palpatine in that. He was a big part of all of it. The originals, the prequels, like this was all his plan. So whether, once again, is he a Force ghost? Although some people say that you can't be a Force ghost if you're on the dark side. I don't know if that's accurate. Maybe he's just on the Death Star, or I don't think he's alive. I think that will be stupid if he's alive. Just because that would kind of ruin the whole Vader destiny thing. But maybe they'll communicate through the Force or something like that. It's very interesting. I'm very curious. I've been super doubtful about this movie because of all the changes they had to do and everything. But I'm going to give it a chance. I will, of course, see it. And I'm just curious. It did, when I heard his laugh, though, I was super shocked. So those are the tag questions and the questions that you guys sent in. I hope you guys enjoyed my little Star Wars ramble bit. I love answering some of your guys' like opinion questions or like my thoughts on the lore of it all, if you will. As I said, I'm not George Lucas or Disney, but those are just my thoughts and opinions. I've been a Star Wars fan for a hot minute, you know, but like around 20 years or something like that. I don't know when my dad showed me the movies. I was young. But I hope you guys enjoyed my answers in some of these questions. Hope you guys had a good May the 4th be with you. You have a good Revenge of the 5th and or 6th. Have a great day, guys. I will see you guys in the next Chit Chat with Cass.